Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. Today we are going to have a look at Strangler Heart Power Armor. Now the plans for Strangler Heart Power Armor can be purchased from Regs in Vault 79, and they are also available from time to time from Minerva. Now before crafting Strangler Heart, you want to have the Powersmith perk equipped because it will reduce the cost of crafting it, and it is quite expensive. So if we go into the crafting menu, you can see the cost for the torso, the helmet. They're all a little different, but one thing they do have in common is 1 legendary module and 27 vault steel. Now that is if you have the Powersmith perk equipped. If you don't, the scrap cost will go up and the vault steel will actually be 30. So you'll definitely want to have that perk equipped if you craft this armor. So that means it's going to take 6 legendary modules and 162 vault steel, which is the equivalent of 1,920 legendary scrip. So that's a lot just to get the set, and that is a non-legendary set. So once you craft it, then you have to, it's 4 modules per piece. If you want 3-star pieces, which I assume most people do, it's 4 modules per piece to make it legendary. Now the Strangler Heart does have a set bonus. It is 30 poison damage over 3 seconds with weapons. So that means if you use a melee weapon or a gun, then that is 30 poison damage over 3 seconds on your target. Obviously, their resistance will come into play and can negate some or all of that. There's also 4 poison damage per second to nearby targets. So when enemies get too close to you, they will start taking poison damage whether you're attacking them or not. Again, that is subject to their resistances. Now, unlike Thorn and Solar Armor, obviously when you craft these, they're not legendary, but that also means they can be re-rolled. So you don't have to craft brand new pieces. If you want to just keep rerolling the same piece over and over again, you can do so. You just have to pay the modules each time. This armor is also not tradable and it's not droppable. And it uses the same mods as Ultrasight Power Armor. And that's a bit of a downside, or at least it can be, because things like calibrated shocks on Ultrasight Power Armor are very rare. So you have to be kind of lucky to be able to do those mods. The fact that they're not tradable means that nobody can put the mods on for you. You actually have to know the mods to be able to put them on. But as you can see, they do look really cool. I mean, I do like this look. It's a lot different than any other power armor. And so I do think that's a bonus for it. And also the resistances are pretty high. I mean, you can see my damage resistance over 500. Energy resistance is pretty high. Radiation resistance, it adds another 500 and something. I do have what rads equipped, so that's 300, but on top of that, it's just the power armor. So it gives you really high radiation resistance. So overall, the resistance numbers are really good. So I think the main reason that most people will craft this, in fact, it was the reason I did, is because I was curious about the set bonus. I want to know what that poison damage looks like. So we will just test it on. Now I do have the awareness perk equipped, and you can see the poison resistance on this level 50 Scorched is 39. It's the last number there. And as you can see, as I get close, yeah, you can see his health bar starting to take damage. And you can tell if they're under effect. You can kind of see a faint poison cloud that's around. Yeah, and he just kind of melts under the pressure. And this guy's taking damage too. Now, one thing I will say is I have played with this quite a lot over the past day or so. I did craft this yesterday, but I have used it quite a bit. And now the thing is, I could shoot them to show the effect. The problem is, I would probably just kill them. You don't really need the effect against Scorched. I mean, you're just going to kill them. But what I have noticed is I am on a private server right now, which means, yes, I actually did craft this. I spent modules. This is not a custom server. So on a public world I was on last night, there must have been lag or something because they were not, you could see the effect happening like that. You know, you could see the cloud around them, but they weren't actually taking any of the damage. So my guess with this, and with a lot of things in this game, is that lag can really affect the results you see with that. All right, so let's see what this looks like against a different kind of enemy. Super mutants tend to have pretty high resistances. 42, which is actually not that much more than what you get. I mean, the Scorched, I think, were 39. This one is only level 50, though. So, but as you can see, so he's level 50. And I haven't attacked him yet, but he has taken a bit of area damage just from me being near him. This hound, yeah, the hound, and this is something else I've noticed with this. So this hound has only 22 resistance. So it's, what was that, half of what the super mutant had? And yet it's not, it's not really taking much in the way of damage. So let's just kill him and move on to a higher level super mutant and see what we get. Okay, so that one's level 60, and his... See, and at level 60, his resistance goes way up. What was the other one, like 40 something? And this is 110? So the resistance goes way up, and you can see his health bar is doing basically nothing. And that is one thing I've noticed with this, is once you get past low-level enemies with low resistances, you see very little effect. I mean, it has some, but it's really not significant. And this one's 100, so his, poison resist 165. It's basically doing probably 0. I mean, I obviously have no way to see his readout to see the actual damage numbers. You know, it's probably doing like 1 damage or something once in a while. All right, so I dispatched those super mutants. I didn't see any reason to show me fighting them, since the whole point was, how does this armor affect the... Now we have robots here, and if you look at their resistance, they're actually completely immune, which is another problem for this kind of damage. I do wish it was bleed rather than poison, because there are enemies that either have really high resistances or they're completely immune. Now you can see his health bar moving, but that is not because of this armor. That is because I have Ricochet equipped, and so some of his shots will go back and do some damage. If I took that perk off, his health bar would be completely full still. And just to show you, it's not just sentry bots, Protectrons, Eyebots, Gutsies. They're all immune to poison, so this armor really isn't going to do anything special against them. It's basically just regular power armor against robots. Okay, so far I've shown you against enemies that have low resistance, high resistance, and immunity. Let's see what happens when we go against humans. Humans tend to have no poison resistance at all. So if we go into VATS here, use awareness. Yeah, you can see he has damage resistance, energy, radiation, but no poison resistance at all. So you'd actually think that the effect would be pretty high. And it's not. I mean, it is taken from him a little bit, but for the most part, it's... Just to kill one enemy like this, it would take a very long time. I mean, to the point of not actually being... And even the dog, right? Dog, no poison resistance. Broke VATS a little bit, but yeah, he has no poison resistance. The dog's taken a little bit of damage, but not much. This guy, he's taken damage, but it's because of Ricochet rather than because of the poison. Now, one thing I have noticed, and I don't know if you can tell it, but he actually has a little bit of a poison cloud around him. So Ricochet seems to work with this perk, just like a gun would. So if I shoot a shot at him, then that shot will cause the poison damage, and Ricochet does the same thing. So Ricochet shot Ricochet's back. It's just like I fired it, and it does cause the poison. Now against this guy, he's not really taking a lot of poison damage. It's mostly from the Ricochet, because he does a lot of damage, and so as those shots are ricocheted back. So Ricochet is very beneficial against humans, but the this perk, it doesn't really do a whole... It doesn't do a whole lot, which it makes me wonder. I mean, if they have 0 poison resistance, why is the poison having so little effect? I don't know the answer to that. Now, normally I like to end a video by fighting a big target because I think that's fun. But in this case, there's not a lot of point. The armor's not going to help me, at least in terms of damage against a big target, because it's going to be immune to poison. Either immune, or it's going to have such high resistance that it's effectively immune to poison. So is this armor worth the high cost? Well, that depends. If you're getting the armor and the reason is the poison damage that you're going to get, then the answer is no. It's either only effective against enemies where you don't really need the help anyway, or it doesn't do anything at all. Now, the one area where I could see it to be maybe beneficial is for tagging. Say you're in an event like Radiation Rumble and there's a lot of enemies that are close to you just kind of running around. Them being in your area will actually, you'll get the poison damage, so you're tagging them. At least in theory, that's how it should work. It's also not worth it if you don't know all the Ultrasight mods that you want, because nobody can mod this for you. So if you like calibrated shocks and you don't have the Ultrasight calibrated shocks plan, there's no point in you getting this armor, because you're not going to be able to get those mods onto those legs. If you want something that looks different than pretty much everything else, and it has really good resistance numbers, including high radiation resistance, then yeah, it's worth it. And obviously, if you're a completionist that likes to collect every kind of power armor, then, that's good too. But I think for me, I was looking for something a little bit more than what it's actually delivering in terms of poison damage. And the pieces I rolled for the most part are not that exceptional. So I think this is either going to go back on a frame and into my storage, or it may end up in the script machine. Because right now, it's just a power armor that really looks cool, but doesn't have a set bonus that's meaningful at all. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit one of the buttons down below, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.